Well, a little earlier, before that official press conference, I spoke to David Keyes. He's the spokesman of the Israeli government, and I wanted reaction from Israel to this new charter.
Well, this is an obvious attempt by Hamas to fool the world, to pull the wool over the eyes of the world. And it's not the first time that tyrants and terrorists have lied to the world to alleviate pressure. It was Stalin who said that his policy was equality and fraternity of all peoples. It was Hitler who said that peace was his dearest treasure. And it was Ayatollah Khomeini, the founder of the Islamic Republic of Iran, that said that there would be total equality between men and women in Iran. The real barometer of change will be, what does Hamas do? What does Hamas do? And as it stands now, Hamas is actively building terror tunnels to dig under the state of Israel to try to kidnap and murder our citizens. You know, I've just come from an event with the Prime Minister with the victims of terror, entire families who have been destroyed by this terrorist organization. I saw people whose faces had been burned in their entirety. Sure. Mothers and daughters and brothers and sisters.
And
who
you
have been cut down by
the
Hamas.
response that Hamas would give to that would be the destruction and the deaths of people, the many thousands of people in Gaza who've been destroyed by attacks from Israel. The two sides, your two sides, Israel and Hamas, are always going to argue about that. But I'm trying to look to the future here, where Hamas is saying that it is no longer calling for the destruction of Israel. It's saying it's calling for the implementation of the 1967 borders. It's doing that for the first time. Is that not progress at all?
First of all, there's no moral equivalency whatsoever between an organization which for decades has called for genocide of the Jewish people. It is Ahmed Bahar, the deputy speaker of the parliament, who said, and I'll cite it in the original Arabic, count all the Jews, murder them all, and don't leave a single one. There is no comparison whatsoever between that and democratic Israel. There's no comparison between Marwan Abu Ras, senior Hamas leader, who said, "Hada Yahudi wara'i ta'al faqtuluhu." There's a Jew behind me. Come and kill him.
OK, well, Hamas, actually, it's interesting that you... I'm so sorry to interrupt you because I know our time is short. But it is interesting that you brought that up because actually, from what we gather from the document is going to say that the group actually isn't anti-Semitic. It isn't against Jews per se. It's not calling for the destruction of all Jews. It's simply against those who are, quote, occupiers and aggressors. It says this is all about politics. It's not actually about religion.
Well, I'm sure that's what they tell gullible Westerners, but what they tell their own people, what they teach their own children, is that Jews are subhuman. When Mahmoud al-Zahar, senior Hamas leader, calls Jews dogs and wild beasts and says that Israel is headed for annihilation, that is the real Hamas, a Hamas which is imposing a brutal dictatorship on its own people, which has launched tens of thousands of missiles at Israeli mothers and fathers and children, innocent civilians, an organization which is stealing billions and billions of dollars to build a war machine rather than to take care of their own people. We should be so lucky that Hamas has changed, but just because they say that to gullible Westerners doesn't make it so. Hamas continues to be a terrorist organization which actively calls for Israel's destruction to its own people in Arabic.
OK, can I move on and ask you whether Israel is worried that the issuing of this new document detailing all the things that we've discussed, it makes Hamas look more moderate, perhaps, to the international community? Is Israel worried that the international community now might feel more inclined to deal with Hamas as part of some sort of peace process?
I don't think that the world is going to be that naive, and all it takes is to turn on Al-Aqsa TV, Hamas's TV station, to look at what this terrorist organization is telling its own people. It's not the first time, as I said, that mass murderers and terrorists say one thing to the Western world in order to alleviate international pressure.